Welcome to my channel. Have you ever imagined what it feels like when it rains every single day? Not for a week, not for a month, but for 1,000 days. What happens to people when the sky never stops crying? Today, I'll tell you a story not just about rain, but about patience, hope, and finding light even when the world feels gray. This story will not only touch your heart, but also help you learn English naturally, just by listening and feeling. So stay with me till the end, because sometimes the simplest stories teach the biggest lessons. Chapter 1: The Endless Rain Begins. Have you ever heard rain fall for so long that you forget what silence sounds like? That is what happened in a small town far away, a town that once smiled under a warm yellow sun. The people there loved the rain at first. It washed the streets clean, it made the air cool, and it made the flowers smell sweet. Children danced in puddles and laughed as raindrops fell on their faces. The farmers said, "This is good. The rain will help our crops grow." And for a few days, everyone was happy. But soon, the days turned into weeks. The rain did not stop. It fell during the day. It fell at night. The sky stayed gray all the time. The roads became rivers. The houses smelled of damp earth. People began to stay inside. The children no longer played outside. The laughter stopped. In that quiet, rainy town lived a young teacher named Mira. She was kind and calm. Every morning, she walked through the rain to her small classroom at the edge of the town. She always carried a blue umbrella, though the wind often broke it. Still, she went. She taught English to little children. Her students were bright and curious, but one by one, they began to stay home because of the heavy rain. Some families left the town. Some said, "It will stop soon." But it didn't. Mira began to write in her diary every night. She wrote simple sentences the way she taught her students. Today, it rained again. The sky looks tired. The children did not come to class. The rain feels lonely. She looked out of her small window and saw only falling water. Sometimes she wondered if the sun had forgotten them. Still, she lit a small candle and kept reading her books. She told herself, "Tomorrow, it will stop." But tomorrow came, and it rained again. The river near her house began to rise. The bridge that led to the next village broke apart. Shops closed one by one. The sound of rain was everywhere, on the roof, on the walls, in her dreams. Some nights, she could not sleep. The wind howled like a lost voice. Yet, inside her small heart, a soft light still burned hope. She told herself that learning and teaching must not stop. "If I stop," she said, "the children will stop too." So she began teaching in her home. Only 3 children came small, wet and shy. She gave them warm tea and said, "Let's read." They sat near the candlelight, listening to the storm outside, learning words like storm, rain, and hope. Even when thunder crashed, Mira smiled. She told her students, "The rain will end one day. Everything ends one day, even sadness." Outside, the rain kept falling. Inside, 3 small children repeated her words softly, "Even sadness ends." No one knew then that this rain would last not just for a week or a month, but for 1,000 days. And that, during those 1,000 days, Mira would find not only patience, but the true meaning of courage. Chapter 2: The Town Without Sunlight. The rain had now fallen for many months. The people in Mira's small town no longer remembered the color of the sky. It was always gray, heavy, and cold. The sun had disappeared, and everything felt slow, like the world had forgotten how to smile. The streets were empty. The air smelled of wet earth and sadness. Houses stood like sleeping shadows, and the river that once sang softly now roared with anger. Every day, Mira watched the water rise higher near her window. She thought, if this continues, the town will disappear. But Mira did not stop teaching. Every morning, she lit a small lamp. She arranged 3 chairs for her students, Lila, Arun, and Rafi. They came with wet shoes and dripping hair, but they still smiled when they saw her. "Good morning, teacher," they said. Their voices were soft, but inside them lived courage. Mira taught them new words: sky, dream, courage, believe. She said, when you speak these words, think about their meaning. The sky may be gone today, but dreams still live inside us. Sometimes, when the rain grew louder, she would stop teaching and tell them a story. She told them stories about the sun, the stars, and the dry sand of faraway lands. The children listened with wide eyes. They had never seen such things, but they could imagine them. Mira said, imagination is like sunlight inside your mind. Even when the sky is dark, it still shines. Outside, the people began to lose hope. The fields were flooded. Food became hard to find. The birds left the town, and the animals hid in the forest. Some people packed their bags and went away, walking through mud and wind to find a place where the rain stopped. But Mira stayed. She said, if we all leave, who will light the candle here? Every night, when the children went home, she stood near her window and looked outside. The world looked quiet and broken, but sometimes she thought she saw something beautiful, tiny lights shining in the darkness. Fireflies. They danced in the rain, their little bodies glowing like stars. Mira smiled and whispered, the world still remembers light. Days passed. Her students began to bring other children. Soon, 5 or 6 little faces filled her small room. They read stories aloud, drew pictures of sunshine, and even made a song about hope. Their voices mixed with the sound of the rain, soft, brave, and alive. One day, Rafi asked, teacher, when will the sun come back? Mira looked at him, then smiled gently. When we learn to see it, even without looking, she said. The children didn't understand, but they nodded. That night, Mira wrote in her diary, the rain still falls, but I hear laughter again. Maybe that is what sunlight sounds like. Outside, thunder rolled across the hills. Inside, the children's laughter echoed, like music, a reminder that even in endless rain, light can still be found in hearts that do not give up. The 1,000 days were far from over, but in that small home, something new had begun, a tiny glowing hope that no storm could wash away. Chapter 3. The Bridge of Hope. Many months had passed. The rain still fell, slow and endless. The people in Mira's town began to grow tired. The crops had died, and the roads were broken. The river that once gave life was now wild and deep. It had cut the town into 2 halves, one side where Mira lived, and the other where food and supplies were kept. Every week, people tried to cross the river, but the water was too strong. Some lost their things, and some never came back. Fear grew in everyone's hearts. They whispered, maybe this is the end. But Mira refused to give up. One morning, she stood beside the river and watched the water swirl and crash against the rocks. She thought about her students, about the children who still came to learn every day. She could not let them lose hope. Then she had an idea. That night, she gathered her students and said, "We will build a bridge." The children looked at her with wide eyes. "But teacher," said Lila, "we don't have wood or tools." Mira smiled and said, "Then we will use what we have, our hands, our hearts, and our courage." The next morning they began. The children collected long branches from fallen trees, ropes made from vines, and stones from the riverbank. The rain made everything heavy and cold, but they kept working. Soon, other people joined them. Old men, young mothers, and even strangers who had lost their homes came to help. It took many days. Sometimes the river destroyed what they built. Sometimes the wind blew everything away. But every time something broke, Mira said softly, "Let's try again." Her calm voice gave them strength. One evening, when the sky was dark and full of thunder, the bridge finally stood. It was not big or strong, but it was real, made of wood, rope, and hope. Mira stood at the edge, her hands shaking. The people watched in silence. Then she took the first step. The bridge moved under her feet, but it held. She smiled and walked across slowly. When she reached the other side, everyone cheered. For the first time in a long time, laughter filled the valley. The children ran across one by one, their small feet splashing in the rain. They carried food, books, and candles back to the other side. That night, the people lit a fire near the bridge. They shared food and stories. Mira looked at the faces around her, wet, tired, but smiling. She said, "Do you see? The bridge is not only made of wood and rope. It is made of us, of what we build together." As the rain fell gently, Mira told her students, "A bridge is not just for crossing water. It connects hearts. It reminds us that we are stronger when we help each other." The next morning, the rain felt softer. The river still flowed fast, but now it carried light, the reflection of the fire, and the hope of the people. Mira watched it and whispered, "Maybe the storm is not here to destroy us. Maybe it came to teach us how to stand together." And so, in that quiet, rain-soaked valley, something had changed. The people had found their strength again. The bridge stood as a symbol, a promise that even in the longest storm, unity could keep the light alive. Chapter 4: The Whisper of the Mountains. After the bridge was built, Mira's town began to heal. People crossed it every day, sharing food, water, and hope. The children laughed again, and for a while, life felt almost normal. But the rain did not stop. It kept falling softly, endlessly. The hills around the town began to tremble, and rivers grew stronger. The people knew something was coming, something bigger. One morning, a deep sound echoed through the valley. It was like the voice of the earth itself. The ground shook, and small stones rolled down from the mountain. People ran from their homes. Mira stood outside, watching the mountain across the river. Clouds wrapped around its peak like a crown, dark and heavy. She felt fear rise in her chest. That evening, the elders gathered in Mira's small school. The candles flickered as they spoke. "The mountain is angry," one man said. "The rain has woken it." Another woman whispered, "If the mountain falls, the river will take us all." The room fell silent. All eyes turned to Mira. She looked at the children sitting by the door, their faces pale. Then she said softly, "The mountain is not angry. It is tired, just like us." Her voice was calm, but her heart was heavy. We must listen to it. The next morning, Mira took her students and climbed the mountain path. The way was slippery, and fog wrapped around them. The children held hands and followed her slowly. As they climbed, they saw trees fallen by the rain and small streams running down like tears. But there was also beauty-bright flowers blooming in the mist and birds singing softly through the storm. When they reached a high rock, Mira stopped. From there, they could see the whole valley, the river, the bridge, the tiny lights of their homes. The children gasped. "It looks so small," one of them said. Mira smiled and said, "Yes, but even the smallest light can shine in the biggest storm." Then she closed her eyes and listened. The wind moved through the mountains, whispering softly, like a song. She turned to her students and said, "Do you hear that? The mountain is speaking. It is telling us to be strong, to keep standing." The children listened quietly, the wind brushing their faces. For the first time, they did not fear the mountain, they respected it. On their way down, Mira collected small stones from the path. "These are not just rocks," she said. "They are reminders. Each one carries the strength of the mountain. Keep one close, and remember that courage does not mean having no fear. It means walking forward even when you are afraid." When they returned, Mira gave one stone to every person in the village. "The mountain spoke to us," she said. "It said the rain will not last forever, but we must learn patience. The earth teaches us through silence." That night, the people placed their stones near the fire. Children whispered prayers, and elders told stories of the old days when storms passed, and the sun always came again. For the first time, they did not see the rain as their enemy. They saw it as a teacher. Mira stood at the door of her cave school, watching the mist rise from the valley. She whispered, "The mountain will hold us as long as we hold each other." The rain fell softly, like a lullaby. The bridge shone in the moonlight, strong and quiet. The valley slept in peace. Chapter 5: The Day the Sun Returned. Days turned into weeks, and still, the rain fell softer now, gentler, as if it, too, was getting tired. The rivers no longer roared with anger, but whispered calmly as they flowed. The people in Mira's village had grown used to the sound of rain. It was part of their lives, like breathing. They had learned to listen, to wait, to hope. Then, one quiet morning, something strange happened. Mira woke up and heard silence. No rain, no thunder, no wind, only the sound of birds. For a moment, she thought she was dreaming. She stepped outside, and for the first time in 1,000 days, the sky was clear. The clouds had finally broken apart, and golden sunlight poured down over the valley. The world shone. Every leaf, every drop of water sparkled like diamonds. The people came out of their homes slowly, shielding their eyes. They looked up at the sky, smiling, laughing, crying. Some fell to their knees in joy. Mira stood by the bridge, watching as the children ran into the sunlight. Their laughter filled the air like music. "It's over," someone whispered behind her. But Mira shook her head gently. "No," she said. "It's not over. It's a new beginning." The ground was still soft, the air still heavy with the scent of wet earth. But the people had changed. They were stronger, wiser, closer. The storm had tested them, but it had not broken them. It had taught them to listen, to help each other, to see beauty even in dark days. Mira walked through the village, seeing life returning everywhere, green shoots pushing through the mud, animals stepping out from the forest, and people repairing their homes together. The world was being reborn, one small act at a time. Later that day, Mira gathered everyone near the school cave. The sunlight glowed on their faces. She said, "The rain was not a curse. It was a lesson. It showed us that we can survive anything if we stand together." The people nodded, tears in their eyes. "We lost much," she continued softly, "but we found more. We found our strength." The children listened closely, holding their mountain stones. One of them asked, "Teacher, will it rain again?" Mira smiled and said, "Yes, one day it will, but we are not afraid anymore. The rain is part of life, and now we know after every storm, the sun returns." As evening came, the valley glowed in orange light. People sang songs they had not sung in years. Families cooked together, and for the first time, the smoke from their fires rose into a clear sky. Mira sat near the bridge, watching the sunset. The reflection of the sun in the river looked like fire, the same fire that once gave humans hope long ago. She thought of Tarak, the man from ancient stories who first found fire in the storm. "Maybe," she whispered, "every storm hides a gift." The children came running to her, laughing, holding their stones up to the light. "Look, teacher," they said. "The stones shine." Mira smiled. "Yes," she said, "because the mountain still lives in them, just like hope lives in us." That night, the stars filled the sky, bright, endless, free. The people sat by the fires and told stories of the 1,000 days of rain. They no longer spoke with sadness, but with pride. The rain had tested them, but it had also brought them together. It had reminded them that even in darkness, there is always light waiting to return. As the last fire flickered, Mira looked up at the stars and whispered, "Thank you, rain, for teaching us how to begin again." Chapter 6. The Promise of Tomorrow. The morning after the sun returned, the valley looked like a dream. Mist floated above the green fields, and the rivers shimmered in soft light. The air smelled clean, new, alive. Mira walked along the path that once washed away in the storm. Flowers were blooming beside it now, small but strong, just like her people. Everywhere she looked, life was beginning again. The children followed her, carrying their mountain stone symbols of hope and memory. "Teacher," one of them said, "will everything go back to how it was before?" Mira smiled gently. "No," she said, "it will be different. And that's the beauty of it. After every storm, we are never the same, we are better." She led them to the top of a hill overlooking the valley. From there, they could see the fields, the houses, the river, and the mountains in the distance. "Look," she said softly, "everything we lost is growing again. Not because the rain stopped, but because we didn't." The children stood quietly, watching the sunlight play across the land. They could hear the faint sound of people working, rebuilding, laughing. For the first time in a long time, the sound of life filled the air. Mira thought about the 1,000 days that had tested them, the fear, the hunger, the endless waiting. And yet, here they stood, alive. Later, Mira sat by the riverbank with her old friend, Dara. He said, "Do you think we'll forget the rain one day?" Mira shook her head. "No," she said. "We must remember it. It taught us to listen to nature, to respect it. The rain wasn't against us, it was teaching us how to live with it." She picked up a handful of soil and let it fall through her fingers. "This earth remembers," she said, "and so will we." In the evening, the people gathered around a great fire, their first celebration in years. They sang songs of rain and sun, of sorrow and strength. The flames danced high, lighting up their faces. Mira looked at them and said, "The secret of survival isn't about fighting the world. It's about learning from it. Every challenge, every storm, every drop of rain teaches us something." The people listened, silent and thoughtful. Mira continued, "When the next storm comes, and it will remember this, we survived because we stood together, we learned, and we never gave up." The crowd cheered softly, their hearts full of hope. Children clapped and laughed. The fire crackled, glowing like the heart of the mountain itself. As night fell, Mira looked up at the stars. They shone brighter than ever. She thought about the generations before her people like Tarak, who had once discovered fire in the darkness. She realized that human courage never changes. It only grows. From the first spark of fire to the last drop of rain, it was all part of the same story, the story of learning, adapting, and surviving. She whispered to herself, "The rain gave us life. The fire gave us courage. And now, the sun gives us hope." The camera slowly pans out, showing the valley glowing under the stars, fires burning softly across the hills, people's voices echoing with laughter and song. If you enjoyed this story and learned something new, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to my channel, and share it with someone who might need a little light in their own rainy days. Remember, every story helps you learn, and every word is a small step toward your dream. Keep learning, keep feeling, and I'll see you in the next story.